Well, this is the all-new BMW X3, and in my book, this is the best SUV from BMW. It's not as compact as the X1, and it's neither very large and bulbous like the X5. So this is the perfect size SUV if you drive in the city or on the highway. And this new car is built on a new platform and has a host of other changes, even though it still looks like an X3. So let's start off with this review. I'll jump inside and tell you what are the changes and why it is the best SUV that you can buy at this price point. But before that, as always, let me just quickly take a selfie for my Instagram page, because it's all happening on Instagram these days, and Instagram is the place to be. My handle is AshishMasi1. You can also follow the team at autoportal_India. Well, so if you've ever been inside a BMW, then this will feel like a very familiar place to be in. All the gauges, all the menus are really crisp and really look very sporty. Of course, now you get digital displays for the gauges. You don't get those analog gauges which you got in the earlier car, and this one really looks cool, and it looks like the future is here and the future is now. And the biggest change now is that this brilliant iDrive system is a touchscreen system. Remember, the earlier car only had this swivel wheel. You can of course still use this, but you can also use it in a more intuitive manner via the touchscreen. And I have to say that this iDrive system is the best infotainment system across any car at this price point. It's better than the Mercedes as well as Audi and Jaguar rivals. And why do I say that? Well, simply because the menus are nicely marked, and the sub-menus also are very, very easy to use and go through, and it is a very intuitive and easy to use system, much better than all its other rivals. Now, being a BMW also means that perceived quality levels aren't just good, they are exceptional and they are simply brilliant. All the materials here are absolutely first rate, and there's a solid sense of craftsmanship about this cabin. Everything really does feel like it has been very thoughtfully designed and bolted together with a lot of love. Even the small switches here for the AC and the stereo have a solid and nice Germanic feel about themselves. And also another place where you can tell that BMW has put in a lot of effort is over here, the center console. Now, this is a place where a lot of manufacturers put cheap plastics and don't really bolt it together, but this one feels really solid and goes to show you how much engineering and attention to detail BMW have put into the X3. Now, apart from the iDrive, you also get a host of other features. You get wireless charging for your mobile phone, which is also a very thoughtful touch, and you also get this huge sunroof over here. And this is something that buyers will appreciate when they go out for that night drive, because you can of course see the stars. If you of course live in Delhi, you never see the stars or blue skies, but of course if you live in the hills or some other place, you can see the sky as well as the stars at night. In terms of utility places, it's a nice place to be. You get this huge box over here where you can keep your cell phone, wallet and other paraphernalia, including your iPhone chargers. You also get big bottle holders in the door bins, and even the glove box is of a decent shape and size. So yes, in terms of practicality, it is a good place to be in, as it is for luxury. Well, so let's talk about the back seat, because this is a place where a lot of you will spend your time in, and I have good news for you. As you can see, knee room is more than sufficient, headroom is massive as well, and if you have been watching my videos for the last 5 years, by now I'm sure that you do know that my height for reference is 5'10", and I always adjust the front seat for my height and my driving position, and even then there's plenty of space here. There is a wide car at the back. There is a bit of a lump in the floor panel, but that's quite okay because the footwells are generally pretty big, so you can accommodate the feet of whoever's sitting here. It should not be an issue. You get your own AC vents as well as your own climate control zone at the back. And the good news is that the windows are large and big, which means you don't feel claustrophobic or hemmed in. And if you aren't in the mood to talk to anyone at a red light, at a signal, and if you are in the mood to just doze off, you can always pull up this curtain and go off to sleep. And of course, if you have a lot of luggage at the back and you need a little more space, you can always adjust the backrest over here by slightly, and that huge luggage piece that your mother-in-law's got, it'll just about manage to fit in. Well, so if you have a BMW X3 with you, then chances are that you also have a Toyota Innova in your fleet, so boot space shouldn't really be an issue, because you'll always have another car carrying your luggage if you're going to the airport. But even then, for our regular viewers, we'll talk about the boot. As you can see, it is nice and wide. There is a bit of a ledge here. That's because BMW has given you a space saver which doesn't really fit in otherwise, but it is quite okay because the boot here isn't too high from the ground up. And as I said, it is a huge boot. It's 550 litre, which should be enough for all those big airport transfers for your mother-in-law You can also increase the capacity by dropping down the back seats. All you need to do is simply press a button over here, and that ensures that the seats go down and you get a completely flat loading area. We of course could remove the tray and show it to you, but it's very cold here and I'm just being a little too lazy. Well, so the good news is that the new 2-liter engine on the X3 is a whole lot more quieter than the earlier car, and even when you rev it hard, this engine remains largely hushed because the sound deadening on this car is excellent. BMW has used new materials even for the glass here so that you don't get that kind of noise and vibration inside the cabin, and a whole lot of other stuff around the chassis of this car has been added to make the cabin feel a lot better cocooned than the earlier version of this car. And in fact, it really does work out because when I initially started off this car, I thought that, oh no, BMW has by mistake sent me a petrol version of the car, and when did they launch this version and stuff like that. But of course, I did drive it around and figured out it is a diesel. What you'll also see is that the red line of this engine is all the way up to about 5,500, 6,000 RPM, which is something very unique because most diesel engines have a red line of around 4,500, 5,000 RPM. So those extra revs really do add a lot of punch, and this engine really is brilliant in terms of power delivery. Special mention has also got to be made for this 8-speed automatic gearbox. It is a sublime gearbox to use. It is brilliant, and in fact, if I had to review this car in just one word, then the handling, the chassis balance and the performance of this car can be reviewed by just saying it is sublime. It is absolutely brilliant. It is a car which doesn't feel like you're driving an SUV. It feels more sportier and much better in terms of handling than some other saloon cars do. So full marks to BMW for delivering the X3 with such a sharp chassis. It really does feel sharp, agile. Now in terms of power delivery, this engine makes about 190 bhp, but the good point is that BMW also claims excellent fuel efficiency. You'll get fuel efficiency in excess of 16 according to BMW. We have been driving it around for the last couple of days and we're still getting about 11.5, which isn't bad because this car has been driven in the city. And BMW also claims a 0 to 100 speed of just around 8 seconds, which can be truly believed because it is a very quick car. But despite all those positive things I just said, there is a little negative on this car, and that is that the engine is lazy to respond to inputs below 2000 RPM. It is like an infant, it is like a child who doesn't really get up in the morning. You have to just shake him up to wake him up. So it is a little bit like that with this engine. But of course, once that child wakes up, it really is hard to put him back to bed and tell him to go to sleep, because performance of this car is simply like that. Once it passes off 2000 RPM, it simply goes and goes, and performance is, as I said, solid, breathtaking. What you also get from this BMW is excellent visibility all across. You get a nice view of the road ahead. The pillar isn't too chunky, you can easily look around it, and the rear view mirrors also are of a nice shape and size, so you can easily see whatever's coming behind you. And you also get a good view from this mirror over here because the last window is also nice and big. So overall excellent visibility all across, which is a big boon, especially if you're driving in tight city traffic. Now overall, the handling prowess of this big SUV is pretty good, but of course if you want more from it, you can always change the settings over here. You can put it into sport mode and suddenly the engine becomes a little more angry and it starts to respond a lot more to the throttle inputs, and the steering wheel also tends to add a little more weight into it and feels a whole lot more communicative than it already is. It is a very communicative steering wheel and it is a responsive engine and gearbox even in the comfort mode. But yes, of course, if you choose sport mode, then it takes this car's performance to another level. As I just said, things become a lot more urgent. This car's performance becomes urgent and it feels as if a child is rushing to his board exam center and he's really in that rush and is a little bit tense as well, because this car's performance really does become tense and really urgent, and even the dials light up in a nice shade of red. Overall, if I had to describe the performance of this car in one word, that one word would be sublime. Yes, the performance is absolutely sublime. It is a car which feels very stable out on the highway. It simply hugs the road. In terms of city driving, it just takes on all those badly patched up roads. There's hardly anything which enters the cabin, and overall cabin isolation is also very good. The engine's performance is also excellent, and it's also an engine which delivers good fuel efficiency. Well, so what do you think of the BMW X3? Do let me know in the comment section below. And do you agree with my verdict over here? Do let me know that as well. And what do you think about my extra red sweater today? Do let me know in the comments section below. Should I wear bright colors like this, or should I simply stick with more sober ones? Do let me know in the comment section below, because you know I always read the comments and I always try and follow what you say. Well, the BMW X3 is truly an exceptional product. It's a great car for keen drivers, it's a great car for luxury as well as comfort, and it's huge in terms of space and overall luxury as well. And what I'm essentially trying to say is that this is the best SUV that you can buy at this price point, and you should definitely go ahead and check it out at a BMW dealership near you. I would give it a very strong score of 9 out of 10. It's bye for now, and hope to see you soon.